Yes. Whoa. I am pumped up.
I'm jacked up. No reason.
No reason at all.
Just feeling, it's Wednesday, halfway through the week. I'm going to go see James Bond on Friday.
Me too.
Excited.
I'm so excited. I'm going to.
I cannot wait.
Yep.
I cannot fucking wait. Ryan Brady converted me into a James Bond lover and fanatic.
Really? Well, he was a bit of a James Bond himself, I do have to say.
He was, yeah. He was womanizer.
Yeah.
Assassin.
Very materialistic. Looked great in a suit.
And saved lives, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for that. Why else am I excited? I don't know, babe, just to see your face.
I'm excited to see you in our merch sweatshirt. It looks good. We've got it in red. I haven't seen that color yet. That's hot.
And that's hot, queen.
Yes, I'm over here in my furs.
Looking like some kind of goddamn lady.
Heiress. Because it's cold.
Yeah, I bet your place gets really cold in the winter because you're in I'm in an old rickety... You're in an old rickety ship.
Pirate ship building over here.
So here we are. Last week we talked about embarrassing things. It was great. We are going to dive in with some listener feedback. Anyone who's not following us on the Instagram, first of all, why?
Yeah.
Second of all...
First of all, fuck you.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Not fuck you.
Okay, good.
Get over there. Follow us. It would be really helpful. Unfortunately, the entertainment industry has come to a place where if you don't have followers on Instagram, you may as well just be fucking dead.
Yeah.
So if you're not following us, please follow us on Instagram. Our handle is @The Lucy and Annabel Show. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and also, if you guys haven't rated and reviewed the podcast on iTunes, that would be incredible. We love you all.
It really would. Because as we develop the show and progress with our different little ideas and projects, people look at that stuff to decide whether we are worthy of their time and attention.
That's right.
And we want to keep this thing going. So last week we talked about embarrassment.
People loved this episode of embarrassing things. They lost their mind. I was getting texts and messages at all hours of the day and night.
I'm just thinking about it and I'm already ready to
You're covering yourself again.
I can't. Some of the things you guys wrote in on the Instagram made me really feel bad.
I can't wait to hear. What are they?
Okay, so one of my favorites, probably my favorite, was I gave a blowjob while I was using my dad's Uber account and got him and his company banned.
No. What do you mean? I don't even know what you just said.
She gave a blozzer in the Uber and got banned. And she was using, I guess, her dad's account.
How is that allowed in an Uber? What would you do if you were the driver somebody did that?
Do you know people fuck their Uber drivers and stuff? That's the thing. And we've got people in our family in orbit who are Uber drivers and they get propositioned a lot for sex.
Wow.
Another one which I really like. There was a lot of period stuff where
oh, really?
Yeah, I guess people are still really humiliated by period stuff, which I get. I feel like anything that's about your bum bum is embarrassing, whether it's your front bum bum or your back bum bum. I feel like anything that comes from the undercarriage is humiliating, regardless of what anyone wants to be normalize periods. Okay, yeah, but then we have to talk about where the period comes from, which is the front bum, and it's embarrassing.
Tell me a period one. No, don't. Okay. Why did I just ask for that? I don't want that.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Oh,
My dad walked in the bathroom. My dad walked in the bathroom without knocking, and I was putting in a tampon.
Oh, no.
I would just die.
I'd hate that.
There was lots of period ones. I'm gonna grab another period one from the archives. Hold on. Instagram is really acting a fool.
Instagram has had a conniption this week.
Facebook and all that went down this week.
Yeah. Well, it's all owned by the same person.
Yeah. And so WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, anything owned by Facebook went down. And then I later found out that it all went down 2 hours before the whistleblower went to speak in the trial, the Facebook whistleblower. So there's a big court case about Facebook and how like it's damaging children and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know enough about it to know all of the intimate details of what the case exactly is. But a former Facebook employee and whistleblower was taking the stand in the trial. And 2 hours before, could you even believe it? Could you imagine it? Could you have predicted it?
What are the chances?
Facebook goes down. Oh my God. And, I wonder all the things that may have just disappeared and got lost during that time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, if that was something that you were interested in doing as Facebook.
It'd be a good opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, it was just really, I guess, just one of those things that happens. So anyway,
just going to leave that there.
The other things that were embarrassing that people said were, some people were just like, oh, where do I begin? My whole life's been an embarrassment.
Yeah, well, like we said, existing is humiliating.
I actually have a period one. I think I had just started my period and I basically dressed exactly how I dress now when I was 12. I was wearing a hoodie
I can see that.
Grey.
You do
like
dress
a baggy,
like a 12-year-old.
like a I actually do. Even when I'm dressed up, I dress like a 12-year-old. But I was wearing like a grey hoodie and I just got my period and I changed my tampon and I guess like some blood was on my sleeve. And my best friend was a boy and he was like, what's that blood on your sleeve? And I was like...
You could have played that off though.
Oh my God.
You could have said you had a bloody nose.
I did play it off, obviously. But the point is that the embarrassment still happened to me. I still had to look down and be like, there is blood from my front bum on my arm. And a boy saw it and now he's just asked me about it.
Mortifying.
So sorry everyone's embarrassed about their periods.
Yeah.
Look, they're not going anywhere for a long time, so just get used to it and get yourself a pair of Thinks. It's not an ad.
Yeah.
They're just great knickers that hold your period in.
Wow, you just reminded me of my most embarrassing thing as a young person, but I can tell it later because we're on front bum stuff right now.
No, tell us.
Oh, man. I remember being about that age, 12, 13, and I was in junior high at the time, which you don't have in England, but in America, you go to 1 through 6, and then 7 and 8 are junior high, and then you go to high school.
Yeah.
Very vulnerable age. You don't want to exist at all, right?
Don't want to be embarrassed.
No, sure. And you're liking boys or girls. You're having sexual feelings. And I became so embarrassed of, this is going to sound so crazy, but 2 things. My hair. I would slick it back in a bun because I didn't want boys to see my hair and think and associate it with me having pubic hair.
Wow.
I know. And the other thing was...
That's twisty.
It is. I don't know how I came up with that, but I was mortified of my hair being down in any way. So you're
not a hairy person.
No, not at all. I have like this very fine, light hair.
And your like body's not hairy.
I don't even have any arm hair or anything.
Unlike me, I'm like bloody basically wearing like a fuzzy fucking... My whole... From literally my eyebrows down is just fuzzy. Like fuzzy. I've got like a fuzzy back, a fuzzy bum, a fuzzy everything. Got like full on like troll feet. I'm just going to be honest about it. I'm going to be honest here. For any other women out there or men who feel some type of way about their fuzziness, don't worry. Some of us have fuzzy bums.
I mean, I've definitely got peach fuzz. You and I are 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah, yours is pretty, mine is eyebrow raising. So carry on.
So the other thing I was mortified about was eating. I didn't want to eat in front of boys because then I would think they would associate it with me going to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. I see. You really worked backwards from each.
So those two things for me were really difficult during those years. And then I got broken up with, so I spent an entire year eating my lunch in a classroom because I was too mortified to go out and see people after I got broken up with. And that is kind of how I became an actor, because I joined poetry club because it took place during lunch. And so I needed somewhere to go. So I joined poetry club.
You needed a safe place to go.
Yeah, and that really sparked my love of Shakespeare and all that kind of thing.
I joined touch typing lessons because Jeremy Kingsley.
Oh, I remember Jeremy Kingsley.
Yeah, we never put that episode out.
Oh, we didn't. So Annabel doesn't just call this man Jeremy. She has to call him by his first and last name.
Jeremy Kingsley. But first great love of my life potentially was Jeremy Kingsley.
Yeah, I mean, didn't you carve his name into your furniture in your room?
Into everything. At my mum's house, every time we paint a room or renovate something, it's I heart JK everywhere you turn. So he's got a partner now and a baby. Maybe he's married, I'm not sure. So, my chances have gone slim to none at this point. Yeah,
were they always slim to none, though?
No, they were high. High chances.
According to
I joined touch typing because he was at touch typing.
Oh.
So I have him to thank for, in the way that you've got your boyfriend who dumped you.
Yeah.
I've got
Danny Brinkenhoff.
Danny motherfucking Brinkenhoff. Where is he now?
God damn it, Danny Brinkenhoff. Thank you for sparking my love of Shakespeare by humiliating me.
And thank you, Jeremy Kingsley, for teaching me to touch type, and also how cruel love can be.
Yeah. Taught me a lot.
Whew. Wow. Okay, so that's a recap on last week's episode and some of our most embarrassing moments. Today, we need to do some news.
We have some news.
It's not world news.
It's not important news.
It's Lucy and Annabel.
What was that? Why did you go into slow-mo?
Why did you? I don't want to record it because it gives me such a good laugh every week.
I know. Okay, what do you got for us, Annabelle?
Okay, so
give us the juice.
I've mostly just picked this out to trigger you.
Oh, great.
So, as you know, I'm a big fan of Bridget Jones. Did you know that?
Not especially.
I watched it a lot of times. I like it very much. And as I think most of us can relate to Bridget Jones, can you relate to Bridget Jones?
I was going to make some stupid joke about how I can't, but of course I can. Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
good. What is your most relatable Bridget Jones memory, let's just say from the first film, in case you can't remember any of the other ones? What's the most relatable moment in Bridge that you'd say is
where she's in the room with the guy she really likes, and then the stupidest shit starts coming out of her mouth and she doesn't know what she's saying and she's just trying to back out politely.
Okay. So conversational things. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say the big knickers moment for me definitely feels relatable. I am somebody that doesn't really have, I'm not organized enough to have nice knickers. They're all a bit comfy. I'm going to be honest, they're comfy. And they're small, but they're comfy. So if a man takes down my trousers or dress or whatever he's taking off, what he's going to find there is something that definitely looks comfortable. And also, never once, not once in my life, have my legs and pussy been shaved at the same time. So, it's like he might find the legs and go, yeah, this is going to be a great time. And then the thigh, not shaved, full bush, massive knickers. So for me, that's just like a moment where I just swallow me, just murder me. And then the man likes it and you're like, yeah, you're pretending to like it.
Why is it so hard for you to get them shaved at the same time?
Don't know, I just can't do it. It's just not a skill that I've got in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've never developed it.
Wow.
Because I'll be in the shower and I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll shave my legs and no one's going to see it. And then I'll be like, actually, I want to wear shorts. And then it's like, okay, well, now my pussy's not shaved and like my pubes are showing. I wear G-strings and I wear thongs exclusively, but they're not like, it's not like, oh yeah, let me just put my La Perla thong on so you can be titillated by the lacy, silky thong. It's like, no, this G-string is about utility. It's comfortable. It's cotton. Nothing's hurting me. Nothing's bothering me. There's an acceptable gusset region. Everything is hurt.
I do have 2 sets of underwear, I have to say. I have like the sexy drawer and then I have the everyday drawer. So yeah, you know, for like Friday nights, I'll dip into the sexy drawer.
Well, I'd say the other moment I relate to is when she like thinks somebody's in the house and then she's like, oh, I feel like such a fucking idiot. Nobody's in there. And then she leaves and she sees the cardigan on the side. Like, the number of times I found myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, what a crazy bitch, me thinking like something's going on. And then you realize something is going on and you're like, for fuck's sake. And you've like let yourself be gaslit.
Yeah, and you doubted
you're
yourself.
Like a mental bitch. Yeah, no. Yeah, if you think something's going on, chances are something's motherfucking going on.
Exactly. So how does this tie into the news?
Oh, yeah. It doesn't really, actually.
God, you wouldn't be a very good newscaster. You'd be off on some fucking tangent.
Or would I? Or would I be amazing? Because people would tune in to hear all really specific parts of the news that are slightly related but not really related.
Yeah, the network would hate you.
Yeah, they would be like, this is a terrible show. Renee Zellweger looks unrecognizable in controversial fat suit as she transforms into convicted killer Pam Hop after yo-yo dieting for Bridget Jones gave her panic attacks. So apparently, Renee found she's naturally, whatever. She likes to be a size 0, and she had to gain 30 lbs to play Bridge for the 2001 romantic comedy Bridget Jones. And she said in an interview once that it made her really feel like mentally freaked out. She found eating like that and gaining weight and feeling that way to be very distressing, and she did it for the film, but that she didn't ever want to do it again.
Fair enough.
So she's playing this murderer who I don't know anything about. America loves murderers.
I've never heard of that murderer.
She's serving a life sentence for shooting a disabled man. She pled not guilty in 2011 murder trial for her friend Elizabeth Betsy Faria, who was stabbed 55. Seems like she's done a few killings, this woman. So they're making a movie about her because you guys love murderers. And Renee is playing her.
No.
And so she's had to wear a fat suit because she refuses to gain what here I'm going to say would be 150 pounds to 200 pounds.
All right. Well, I would agree with her. Okay. Right?
Exactly. My question is, so it says here, there's a lot of controversy around actors and fat suits. And I think the controversy is legitimate, she told the LA Times. I think fat phobia is real, and I think to pretend otherwise causes further harm. And it also says here that both Gwyneth Paltrow, one of my favourites, and what's her name? Paulson?
Sarah Paulson.
Ladies? Sarah Paulson both wore fat suits. Gwyneth Paltrow for her role in Shallow Hal. Yep. She called it a disaster and she felt humiliated while wearing it in public. Paulson said that she actually apologized for wearing a fat suit in the FX series Impeachment, American Crime Story.
Why would you apologize?
That's what I don't really understand. I think people find it to be fat phobic.
But you are an actor playing a role. It's not about anything to do with being fat. It's being true to the character. I
agree with you. I don't really know what the issue is with wearing a fat suit. If you're not a fat person and you're going to do a role that is somebody that weighs like 200 pounds or 300 pounds, are you like expected to gain 300 pounds? First of all, that's dangerous. second of all, what if you don't fucking want to? Sorry that somebody's offended. I don't want to gain 300 pounds. It's got fuck all to do with you. Don't go and see the film.
We are actors.
If you're that upset by it.
We are actors, and we transform into the character. This also gets into the area of like people being now pissed if a straight person is playing a gay character or a gay person's playing a straight character, or it's you need to just back up off the craft of acting and remind yourself what acting means. It's pretend. It's about telling stories and creating characters. And that's what we do.
I think that people really... This goes back to the conversation that we've had about, like, people just really being, like, about themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm fat, or I'm gay, or I'm skinny, or I'm straight, and I want to see me reflected back to me. And I get it with some stuff completely. Like, you know, as we all know, I am a black supremacist. So when it comes to race, I'm like 100% get it, understand, here for it, agree 100% of the way. But when it comes to gender, size, like prosthetics for face things and body things, I'm just like, okay, this is controversial. Okay, so this is controversial. I regret this new segment. Okay, so
Jesus,
race and then also disability for me,
right,
are the two where I think there should be representation, and it should be like preferably. Well, obviously, no one's doing a role and doing blackface in this economy, or anything like that. But for instance, I think if somebody's in a wheelchair in the role, like maybe try and get somebody that's an actor that's actually in a wheelchair. I think that is a line that gets my hackles up a little bit, and I'm not going to be offended about it, but it just makes me feel a bit cringe.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should please bring in all kinds of people to play roles. If you're going to hire Gwyneth Paltrow, you can't blame her if she doesn't want to gain 200 pounds.
Exactly.
Go hire a fat actress then.
Exactly. And I also just think, like, what if that's not the movie that they want to make? And they don't, you know, like, for instance, they don't want to use a breakout star. They the only way they got funding for their film
was with a name.
Was with a name. Okay, so then obviously the problem then is going back to, like, okay, the way films are funded and the way things are chosen and blah blah blah.
That's the nature of this business, though. You can't bitch about that.
Exactly. I think that people are expecting a little bit too much of Hollywood.
They don't understand the process.
They don't understand the process, but also, with all due respect, it's a world of fantasy and make-believe.
Yes.
We're not in a university system or, you know, or a boardroom here, and we're not in a lab curing cancer. We're making fantasy a reality for people to escape. And it's not, I don't know if it's up to the people, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow, to fucking solve the world's wrongs when it comes to representation. I'm just like, it's a fucking film.
It's really not. And she's just an actor trying to get a job. You know, that's what we are. So.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
I want everybody to get a chance. Of course I do. I love seeing
diverse people.
You're seeing these actresses. I mean, one of my idols is the girl from Oklahoma on Broadway who won the Tony, and she's in a wheelchair. I mean, it's fantastic to see everybody getting a shot, as they should. But I do believe that you can't try to meddle in the way that Hollywood is run, because it is a process of names to get something made. And unfortunately, Joe Schmo on the corner, you know, isn't going to be considered sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the fat stuff for me is like the bottom of the rung of stuff I give a shit about. I don't fucking care. I don't care about fat representation. I don't need to care about fat representation. All I need to do is go outside of my house. And it's like, there it is. Like, it's everywhere you turn is fat people. Why are we having this conversation? it is normal in America to be overweight.
We're the fattest place on earth.
And you're like, where? Someone's wearing a fat suit. Sorry, motherfucker. Some people don't want to be fat.
I can't tell you how many roles I've lost out to fat girls.
Really?
I mean, I'll see the person they ended up casting and I go, what? I mean, it's okay. Like, you went a different direction. But I would not say that there is a lack of representation for fat people on television.
And as a small person, I can tell you that not only is there not a lack of representation, it's like when I go to the shops, I want to buy clothes, for instance. Sometimes there's like not clothes small enough. So it goes both ways.
I know what you
There'll
mean.
be brands and stores where I'm like, this is the smallest size. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry about it. I'm just going to shop somewhere else. And if you don't like Renee Zellweger's fat suit, then don't fucking watch
Then
the
don't go
program.
to the thing.
And shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
Lucy, tell us your news.
All right, so the headline here is that pissing on Basquiat, Christie's, the auction house, is selling Warhol's portrait of the artist Basquiat. It's made with pee, and it's being sold for $20 million.
That's disgusting.
It was made in 1982 when the two were good friends.
Oh, God, men are so disgusting.
Yep. So Warhol took a few Polaroids of Basquiat and...
Ugh, I'm looking at it now. What? It says Andy Warhol piss paintings.
And then he politely named this process the oxidation process. It involved him urinating onto a surface, and then the image from the Polaroid is transferred onto that surface, and the uric acid discolors the metal, creating pockmarks and rust and fusing. Yeah. So it's like this very unique thing he came up with. And it's going for $20 million. So I don't know who's buying, but don't know if I'd want that for Christmas.
When I hear a story like that, I just think, fucking men.
I mean, can you imagine a woman doing
they've
that?
They've met up. Yeah, a woman would probably do it with her gross period blood. They've met up. They've gone, oh yeah, men. They probably rub their dicks together. And then they've gone like, he's like, probably wants to fuck Basquiat. And then he's like, I'm going to make a picture of Basquiat and then I'm going to fucking piss on it. And it's like confusing. Like, do I want to fuck this guy or do I want to kill him?
Do I hate him or do I like him?
I'm going to make a picture and I'm going to get my dick out and I'm going to piss on it. And it's just so male.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. I'm going to do a portrait of you and then pee all over it and then give it to you.
Oh, God. Anyways.
And then in 30 years, it'll sell for $100 million. That's my first news story. Now, the second thing I want to talk to you about is the Arc De Triomphe in Paris is a massive monument, and it has been wrapped in fabric. And apparently, it is an art project. It was in the works for 60 years, and it was finally unveiled a few weeks ago, maybe. So the artist actually died in May of last year. Bulgarian-born artist Christo said that he was flabbergasted that he was finally given permission to wrap one of the most recognizable buildings in Paris. These rolls of material were massive. They each weighed over a ton. It's wrapped in red rope. I'm not sure I understand why this needed to happen. That's what I can't get from all the interviews. I was wondering if I could pick your brain about it because I'm kind of confused.
I guess the feeling I get from it is like I think of France, think of Paris, and I think food, sex, fashion, clothing, fabric. I'm like Marie Antoinette. I'm like ball gowns and couture, and I'm sitting on the park looking out at the river and I'm eating and the wine tastes good and, you know, things smell different. I can hear records and I'm at the vintage store. It's like a very sumptuous place, Paris. So I look at the Arc De Triomphe being wrapped in this fabric. I find it romantic. I find it absurd. And I like that there is no origin story seemingly, and it's just making us go, but why, but why, but why?
God, your experience is different than mine. When I looked at it, I thought they were fumigating it for termites.
Oh my God, you're so American sometimes. I don't need a reason for that one.
Yeah, I don't at the end of the day either. I wanted to hear your expertise on it.
I don't have any expertise.
So that's the news for today.
Really weird news. I want to see the Arc De Triomphe in a fat suit.
Yes.
So this week we're going to talk about help. And last week I shared an anecdote about being on a walk and an older lady, not old, just older, was struggling to get into her vintage car. It seems she had locked the keys inside. And I said, would you like some help? That looks really hard. You know, she's grimacing, she's making noises, being dramatic. I said, oh, excuse me, do you want some help? She went fucking ballistic at me. She said, I don't want help. Stop being a weirdo. And then screamed, you didn't just help me.
Amazing.
Just as a little brief recap, in case anyone missed it. And it really, my reaction to her is not what I wish it had been. I said, okay, go fuck yourself then. And I walked off. What I wish I'd said is, what's so wrong with a bit of help? And that got me thinking. And I texted you about it and said, can we talk about this? And you said, yeah, baby, let's talk about it. So today we're going to talk about why is it so bloody hard to accept help?
Yeah. Did you see that woman again this week?
You know, I went on a walk the other night and it was dark. I did a night walk and she's so mad. She's actually like, she makes me laugh so much now. I heard her car coming from, I think, about a mile away because it's very old, rickety old, like MG or something. And she came zooming past me so fast. She was going over the speed bumps like she was going to take off. It was like Cruella de Vil going to get the Dalmatians.
God.
Yeah, she's driving all over the place, speeding towards me. The car is so loud. Just mad as a hatter. Just hands on the wheel, driving as fast as she can. Beep, beep. Get out my way. Just, you know. And I said, there she bloody goes. And I just burst out laughing.
Can we have her on the podcast? I'm fascinated to know.
Well, I'm actually slightly scared of her. She seems volatile, to say the least. So I don't think I'll be approaching her again. But the point is it really got me thinking about help and how I started asking myself, was I wrong to ask if she needed help? And I'm always really wary with older people, especially, not to just presume that because somebody's older, they need help. That could be offensive. You know, I always feel a bit guilty when I'm in London and I'm on the tube and I see an old person, I say, would you like to sit down? And they're like, no, you know, English people are a bit different about things. So they giggle and they say, no, don't worry, I'm not that old, you know, or they'll make a joke about it to make everyone comfortable. You know, some older people don't want to be treated that way. And I completely understand and respect that. My mum is that way. She becomes indignant if you try to provide her with any assistance based on her age.
I have so much to say about this regarding my grandfather who just died, and I cared for him the last 3 years of his life. He
didn't want help.
Didn't want any help. He got to the point where he would go to the opera almost every night. And at the end, he was falling in the street because he refused for me to get him a car. He wanted to walk. And he couldn't walk. And he would fall down in the gutter. And the police would find him. And they'd have to bring him home. And so many more things. I mean, right before he died, he still wanted to drink his coffee, even though he was severely dehydrated and they were trying to get him to drink water. I said, fuck off, let him have his coffee. He's going to,
he's dying.
97.
Yeah.
And it was so hot for him because he wanted it scalding hot all the time. And he was in his hospital bed and he was trying to lift it up to his mouth, but it was taking like 30 minutes for him to lift this cup up to his mouth. And I kept trying to help him hold it under, and he was like getting really mad at me. And it's frustrating when you are with someone like that who refuses help because they want to do it themselves. There's a lot of aspects to the help topic, and that was hard. That was very hard to get him to do what was good for, just to help him. So your mom's that way?
Yeah, very much so. She, sooner than ask for help or accept help, she'll let everything go up in flames. And that it's so fucking annoying.
So where
but it's so normal, I think. It's like so many people are that way. My reaction if somebody says to me, if I'm struggling with grocery bags or something, and someone says to me, do you need help? I go, oh, no, don't worry. Well, about 18 months ago, well, longer than that now, I'd say like a couple years ago, I noticed myself, I kept doing that. And one of the things that Ryan really encouraged me to do from the moment we met is accept help.
It's really important to accept help.
Very early on in our relationship, we had spent the night together and I was like, gonna go home. And he said, can I get you an Uber? And I said, no, I'm fine. I can get it myself. And he went, for God's sake, Annabel, just let somebody help you. He'd been working with me at this point for some time now. So he knew me from that context of like, you know, probably being difficult to work with. At that time I was. And I'll never forget the way he said it, his frustration. And from that point on, I was really mindful of like accepting help and trying to acknowledge when I needed help and all of those things. I mean, obviously no one's perfect and gets this stuff right all the time. But now if somebody says to me, can I help with your groceries? I say, yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
I'm really mindful of it. I accept help all the time, even when I don't need it. I allow the other person to give to me. It gives you perspective on the process. And you know the joy you get when someone lets you help them?
Yeah.
Why would you rob that from someone else? Why would you deprive them of the opportunity to feel that joy that we get in giving? And so when you are accepting help, you're actually giving.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that there are a lot of reasons why people don't want to accept help that are probably deep rooted. Like you had looked up some different case studies and research on the reasons why people might not want to accept help.
Yeah, I was reading that it goes way back to our beginnings when we're in a school setting and we feel like our ability is being compared to the other kids around us.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to speak up when you need help because you don't want to be the weak one and you don't want to be the one that doesn't get it. You don't want to be the stupid one. You don't want to stick out in any way. You want to belong. You want to be a part of the group. And we just learn to not ask for what we need, don't we?
Yeah, and I think there are so many, especially in school, and especially now, like teachers are so maxed out that it's kind of like,
yeah,
you know, can you just get on with it? There's maybe a vibe of help not being necessarily available to students. It's very embarrassing as a child, isn't it, to put your hand up in front of 30 classmates and go, I don't understand. So I think that there's that very natural stuff. But then I think there's also like much more deep-seated things. Like with that woman the other day, I could tell that it hit a nerve with her that was just unbelievable. I think that when you suffer with depression or other mental health issues, accepting help is like accepting that you're not well.
And failure, failure in a way.
That's one thing that I really started thinking about after that exchange was all the people I know and have known through my life who either could be alive today or could be living much happier lives as a result of just seeking help, guidance, comfort, all of those things. I know a handful of fiercely independent women who really don't need anyone for anything. And, you know, they wear it as like a badge of honor. And I think that unfortunately, some people really are super independent and don't need anything and don't need any help and they don't need a man and they don't need this and they don't need that. And that's fine. But do you not need anyone, or are you just so used to having to do things for yourself that you're used to muddling by. And that was the question I began to ask myself, was like, is there really a person on earth who doesn't need a bit of help now and again? I think that you have to be really careful of that not morphing into something destructive.
It does morph into
in your
something.
life.
Yeah, it does. And I can remember as a kid, my first feelings of devastation and disappointment. I decided I'm never going to depend on anyone ever again. And that's how I'm going to stay safe. And that's okay then, because that's what your survival is. But then it does morph into something destructive when you now function like that as an adult. I don't need to depend on anyone. I can do it myself. Well, you can't. And it said, I read something really interesting. It said individuals perceive those who seek advice as more competent than those who do not. So those women you're talking about that take pride in the fact that they don't depend on anyone for anything don't really appear as competent as they think they do, because there's asking for help for yourself. There's being willing to give help to others. There's the kinds of people who will help everyone around them, but won't let anyone help them. And they think that that is okay. That's not okay. It's really a struggle to be close to someone who will not accept help. It's a pain in the fucking ass. It's draining.
It was so annoying.
It's an energy that needs to go both ways. It needs to flow. You need to give a lot of help and you need to accept a lot of help. Steve Jobs said some really interesting things about help. He said in a famous interview in 1994, I've never found anyone who said no or hung up the phone when I called, because I've always just called and asked for what I needed clearly and constructively. And he says, and when people ask me for help, I try to be just as responsive, because I feel that that's a debt that I need to pay back with gratitude. So there are many, many people who have helped each of us in our lives. Think of all the countless people that have helped you get to where you are today, emotionally, financially, whatever it could be, helping you move house one day, sharing their meal with you, giving you a loan. We have had so much help, each of us. And we have a debt to pay back by paying it forward, by saying yes to help when it's needed from us. Does that ever happen to you, where someone asks you for something and you kind of clam up and don't want to give the help, and you come up with all these reasons why you can't, but then you think, you know what? I need help when I ask for it, so give it here. You got to keep that energy flowing. It needs to flow through you. It can't stay stuck like that. Just like money. Money needs to flow as well.
Yeah. No, I have never had that experience. I don't.
Because you give help to everyone. So I'm interested to know if you accept help back the same as you give.
Well, I have been helped so much and been given so much too, that for me it flows.
It's a balance.
And it feels good. It feels like I needed a lot of help when I was younger. And now I'm able to help others in a way that I didn't have the capacity, time, or resources to do so when I was younger. And I think that's just come with me just getting older and going, do you know what? People have been so generous and so kind to me in my life. And it wasn't a decision or anything. I think it was just upon reflection, the change began to happen. Also, Ryan helped people so much, and he was such an amazing example of that. It was like there was no end to the amount of energy that he could put into helping other people. And that was really inspiring to me, because I thought, if he could do it with his job and his responsibilities that he had, why on earth couldn't I do it with mine, which were much less than his? So I think that I've been lucky to have people around me who are really good examples of being a helpful person, a helpful, community member. But I have found help embarrassing and hard at times. I would say is probably the one thing I can relate to, is like, and especially given my experience over the last year, which has been very, very humbling. I've needed more help in the last year than I've ever needed before in my life, with so many things, but mostly with very everyday things, at the beginning, eating, showering, remembering literally anything, what time of day it is, have I had anything to drink all day, all of those things. I was literally taken back to the studs, of somebody had to feed me or I didn't eat. Somebody had to be with me when I was out because I couldn't be out alone. Somebody had to sleep in my bed with me because I could not sleep alone, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
You came and stayed with me many times. When you have an experience where you're so vulnerable and so debilitated that for every minute of your day you need help,
you have no choice but to accept it.
I had no choice. None. And if anything, that's fueled me now more so to be as helpful as I possibly can to people wherever I can. And because I know that I have survived the last year of my life through accepting help, something which was really hard for me to do as a younger person.
Yeah.
And it has been such a great lesson. It has been such a great lesson of the miracles that can happen if you just surrender and go, fucking hell, I need help. And I had to. I had no choice. It wasn't even conscious, but the choice I did have was I had to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
That was all I knew how to do, was to surrender to my reality and my situation and admit that I was completely vulnerable. You could have stolen all my money from me during that time. I could have given you my car and signed my house over. I was so vulnerable. I do not know if I had been on my own, if I would have eaten. I don't believe I would have. It's made me completely reevaluate the whole thing. And I love helping. I always have, but now more than ever, I feel like, what you're saying about pay it back. It's so much easier for me than ever before to help, because the impact that helping has had on my life saved my life.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you maybe a tricky question. Do you find accepting help hard sometimes? Or when people give you offers of help, does it sort of put your back up slightly?
I used to have a really hard time with accepting help because as a young person, I made that decision in my brain that the way to survive was to do it myself. Now I'm really enjoying accepting help. Being with Will has been really powerful in that way because he's a man, I'm a woman, and he's very chivalrous, and it feels so beautiful to be taken care of in that way, which I haven't really experienced with a man until now.
Yeah.
And so same as Ryan did with you with the Uber, like if I try to carry, because my instinct is just to do it myself because I'm used to being on my own and getting shit done. And if I pick up the groceries to take them upstairs, Will won't allow it. Put them down. I'll carry them. You go up and get yourself a glass of water and relax. And so every day I'm being challenged in that way to let go and allow. And of course I do plenty, I give to him just as much as he gives to me.
Of course.
And I love giving. I'm the same. I love giving and I love receiving because I'm understanding now that it is a flow and that to not accept help is selfish because you are taking that joy away from the other person. It makes Will feel good and powerful to carry my groceries. It makes him feel good to make me a cup of tea after dinner.
What's the big deal? That's the thing that I think to myself. It's like, what's the big deal? Like,
even though I could do those
things. It's just a benefit to you. Who cares? You can do it.
I could do those things myself. But I know what you mean. Sometimes your ego gets in the way. Sometimes somebody says, here's a bit of money, here's a bit of this or that, or I wanted to pay for this, or, you can pay me over time or whatever it is. And you're going, oh my God, how fucking embarrassing. Like they must be saying that because they think this about me.
There you go. Yeah. That's the bit of the conversation I want to get down to and dig into. It's like, I would like for us all to just have a think about like, okay, why am I resisting help sometimes? Is it my ego? Is it because I'm coming up with these preconceived ideas about what somebody offering me, oh, pay me back in increments, or, just because someone's saying I can carry your groceries doesn't mean that they think you're this fragile, feeble woman, or can I walk you home, and all these things. It's not a test. When somebody offers you help, it's not a test.
No, it's really, it has to do with them. People feel good when they are giving. People feel good when they're being of use and they're offering their use to someone else. People want to help. They really do. And I think if we think about it differently, it's not that we're pathetic or we're inept or incompetent. I think instead to switch the thinking to, it's a group effort to solve a problem or improve a situation or improve things. It's constructive. So if you're clear about that with someone when you need help, it'll feel much better than asking for help because I'm pathetic. No, it's, will you join me in this group effort to achieve this goal? Because we both want things to go right.
And that's a really good tool, actually, now what you're saying. I'm thinking about if you need help and don't know how to ask for it, maybe sit down and brainstorm some ideas of if it makes you feel better about asking for the help, come up in advance with, say it's a financial thing, can I borrow $500? If you want to come up with a payment plan, I'm in advance, I'm going to pay you back on the 15th of every month for the next 5 months or 6 months. Does that work for you? You can still take control of the situation and need help. You can still be in control of yourself, and you can still be empowered in your asking for help. It's not just oh, I'm flailing and I need the help. Please, somebody help me. There are so many ways that you can ask for help that feel empowering. And I think that that's kind of what it left me thinking is, obviously because of my situation and needing so much help, that's a bit of a different thing. I understand that. But there have been so many times in my life where I've needed money. I have had nothing and I've had to borrow 500 quid here or $1,000 there. And I felt so embarrassed by it. But every time I've said, why, here's my plan, this is what I need to do with it, and this is when I'm going to pay you back by, it's made it feel much easier.
Yeah.
Things like, I need to move house. Can you help me? Recently I had to move house and I needed help. And I asked, somebody couldn't do it at the last minute that was going to help me. And I had to ask Will for help. And I felt embarrassed to do it slightly. But he was so sweet and he made it so comfortable and so easy, and he was so brilliant that it was another little reminder of oh, it's okay to ask for help.
And you know what his reaction was when you asked him? His reaction was joyful. He was like, oh my gosh, Annabel wants me to come help her. He said, for everything she's done for us, I am more than happy to do this, and there's no way she's paying me. He said, she is always helping everyone around her, and of course I'll go help her. And he felt needed. He felt necessary. He felt useful. That's a very, very powerful thing to give to someone, to help them feel useful.
And what made me feel bad about it was are you Ubering? I want to pay for your Uber. He wasn't, he was driving, but I'm absolutely going to get you lunch, and that's how I feel better about the fact that he was coming and giving me, all of that time, his energy, his strength, all of that. We sat down, we had a nice lunch, we spent time together, and that made me feel better about it. And there are ways, I think, that when it is hard to ask for help, that you can soften it for yourself. And that lady the other day, it made me feel sad. It made me think, God, are there people out there who need help, who aren't asking for it? And I just wanted to have this conversation with you, because if there are people listening who need help and don't know how to ask, or don't want to ask, or feel embarrassed, I just wanted to have this conversation to maybe encourage people. If you do need help, it's okay. First of all, it's really, really okay. It doesn't mean that you failed or you're weak.
No.
And also, don't be scared or embarrassed to do it. There are ways to do it. And people, like you've said again and again today, people love to help. I love to help. You love to help. Will love to help when I ask him. I'm around people. Everyone in my life is a helper. And if you are a helper, the other side to that is like, make sure that you are accepting help as well, because otherwise your cup is going to get empty real quick.
Exactly.
You can't just be giving and giving and giving and giving and giving to everyone else and not have your shit replenished and not have your shit reciprocated. Just because you can do everything yourself doesn't mean you should.
We're not meant to.
This got me. No, we're really not.
And on the other side,
the age-old expression is it takes a village. Like, it really does.
It really does. And I'm really learning to love that group effort and that group mentality. And on the other side of what you're saying is you also can't be taking and taking and taking without giving.
No.
So
no.
When you focus on giving, you are also taken care of. It might not be literally in the way that you think it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
But it does. Now, there's one thing I love in Judaism at one of their holy holidays, which I've taken part in some of them. Such a beautiful concept, which is that you serve everyone to your right. You serve everyone next to you so that you are in turn taken care of by the person as it comes back to you through the line. And I always try to keep that in mind, but that gets us in trouble sometimes because we go, well, I keep filling up other people's cups and I'm not getting my cup filled up. And then you get resentful and then you go, fuck it. And then you just shut down. It's not going to be literal. It may not come back to you in the way that you're thinking, but you are being taken care of.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way behind the scenes.
It's like a fine balance. It's definitely a fine balance. And I think it takes a lot of self-awareness and also discipline. If you are a giver, not to just give and give and give and give all the time. Have boundaries, take care of yourself, be sensitive to yourself. Maybe, do I need to help myself tonight? You know, do I need to get my shit in order tonight? It's actually going to make you a better helper if you are taking care of yourself. You're just outputting all the time. You can't help anyone. You're not use to anyone. And I think that's really, really important on the other side of things to say, you know, is of accepting help is help yourself if you are one of those giving people. I'm really glad you brought that up. That was a main point that I've been thinking about to talk to you today. Helping myself, ourselves. I get myself in this pattern where I'm late and I'm overbooking myself. So I'll give myself not enough time to get to my appointments and I'm just packed solid. And I run into trouble because then I'm late and I'm affecting other people because I'm stepping on their schedules. And my therapist said to me, why are you not asking for what you need? Because that's what this comes down to. And I hadn't realized that it was about me accepting help from myself, offering help to myself. You need more time to get to your appointments. You can't handle teaching for 6 hours in a row. You need to offer yourself some help here and be smart about this. And I thought a lot about this last night. You have to be smart about that threshold, about knowing when to push through to get something done and when to step back and take help or give yourself help. You've got to be smart about that. Like you said, you have to put those boundaries in. Yeah. How do you know when it's time to ask for help? How do you know when enough is enough? That's a tricky one. It's hard for us to know. We think, well, I can just go one more day. I think one more day trying to figure it out on my own. Or one more hour. I can do it. No. Step back. Ask for help. Allow help. I took the subway this week to get somewhere I needed to go. And I was sitting in a seat. It was getting busy. The subway in Los Angeles is not like it is in New York or London. It's hell no.
Not like business people going to their jobs. It's very scary. I'm sitting in a seat and a man, a very crazy homeless man, sits basically in my lap, sat next to me and shoved in to scoot me over. And my first reaction in a situation like that, and we've said this before, is to try to out crazy them. So I started yelling and I went, I have COVID. And I like yelled at him, and he started laughing at me and like getting closer to me and looking at me with this crazy look in his eye. And I went, I've got AIDS. I have herpes. And I started laughing. I started just looking at him the way he was looking at me, and googly eyes, and everyone around me was moving farther away from me. But I was trying to out crazy him. That was my first instinct. Thinking he'd get up, and he didn't. He was enjoying it. He had this look of pleasure in his eye, and he just thought I was fascinating. So then I didn't know what to do next. So I took my feet and I put them up, and I literally put my feet on him and shoved to get him to move away from me, which also didn't work. He's just still looking at me like he wants to play. And then I thought for a second, and I thought, what do I do? I can't ask anyone for help in this moment. I've got to figure this out myself. I could see there was like a knife in his pants, like a little switchblade. Mm-hmm. I was in between stops, and I looked at him. I'm who knows if this was wrong or right, but I started asking him questions. And I said, where are you from? Because my next instinct was to keep him talking.
Yeah.
And he tells me he's from France. He has 8 brothers and sisters. His mother died during COVID. He wasn't able to go to the funeral. His brother died in a knife fight. He's a painter. He started sharing his life story with me. And I just figured, fuck it, just keep him talking as long as I can. And then my stop came, and I got up and I said, well, this is my stop. Oh, and he looked at me, and he was studying me, and he said, you are a dragon and an angel all in one. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, the way you were screaming at me, you were a dragon. And now you're being an angel. And that's amazing. That's all rolled into one. And I said, well, we're all angels and dragons, aren't we? And so I got up. I said, this is my stop. And I took off running. And he stood up and he said, this is my stop too. And he started running after me. And
no.
He had a lot of stuff he was carrying. He had like a dog bed. He had bags. And I took off running as fast as I could. And I bolted out of there. I ran up 3 flights of stairs. I called Will. Where are you?
That's the most exercise you've had in about 15 years.
I know. That's what Will said too. I couldn't breathe for 10 minutes. He was like, Jesus Christ, that's from 2 flights of stairs? So I get in the car, and I can't tell him what happened for literally 10 minutes until I calmed down. And he was furious at me. He said, don't ever do that again. He said, first of all, you're never going on the subway again. Second of all, why you refused to ask for help. You should have stood up and gotten as far away from him as you could and asked someone for help. And I said, Will, I did the best I could in the moment. I didn't want to stand up because I knew he would follow me, and I didn't want to turn it into a real like confrontation. Where I pissed him off. I saw he had a knife. There was no one to ask for help. I did the best I could in that situation. But then I was thinking about it, and I was like, what is that in me, in each of us, that sometimes, how do we know when to stand and fight or when to say, you know what, I need help in this situation? That's a tough line. Anyway, it was something for me to think about. In the moment, I handled it the best that I felt that I could, and I used the tactics that I had, and I kept him.
Will you ever do that again? Because I think that's a bit. I think that was like fight fire with fire there a little bit.
I mean, unfortunately, that's a part of my personality. That's what I go to first. Instead of asking for help first, I will stand my ground and fucking fight fire with fire. It's not the smartest sometimes. And
I mean, sometimes it is, but situation like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a very tricky, this is a very tricky road, this help topic, because it's case by case basis, right? And we will do great at it some days and we won't on other days. And we think, oh, I know how I would have handled that in the situation, but each of us are different. And
well, as soon as that adrenaline kicks in, you don't really actually know how you're gonna react in those situations, truthfully.
Yeah, I can look back and say, yes, I should have stood up and run away and screamed for help and all this stuff. That's just not my personality. I'm just like, I'll fucking kill you.
Also, he probably would have loved it.
That's what I mean.
God.
Like, he would have gotten off on that. I don't know. Whatever. But anyway.
With crazy people, it's like really, I mean, especially with homeless people in LA, it's just there's no like right answer for that stuff.
I know.
I've had two women I know in the last week have similar situations, both traumatized by it. So, I don't know. It's hard to say what to do in those situations. Your adrenaline kicks in. I've been attacked as well and strangulated by a man
I know,
in the street, and my reaction was nothing like I would have thought. Like in my head, I was like, "Oh, I would fight back and I would punch the guy and I would be so strong." And it's like that's literally not what I did at all. I just completely shut down. So it is hard to say, but yeah, that is a situation where ideally you would have asked for help, but
you know the interesting thing is it didn't even cross my mind to ask for help until Will said you should have asked for help. I went, holy shit, that was a situation where I should have asked for help. I didn't think I needed to. I thought I could solve it myself. I thought I could handle it myself. And that is the trap. And that is that little girl that decided that she was going to handle everything herself.
Yeah, not necessary or good for you many times.
No, not helpful as an adult.
Well, thank God you've got Will. That's all I have to say.
The voice of reason.
Teaching you about how to accept help. I think there comes a time in our lives when we all need people like that. And I'm proud of you for allowing that to happen. Because I think that another Lucy wouldn't have.
No, not at all. I pushed anyone away who tried to help me for a long time. And now I love being helped and helping.
Don't be embarrassed to accept help. Find a way to empower yourself through, asking for help by making a plan. And if you are a helper, make sure you're taking the time to help yourself so that you can use your superpower to its absolute best.
Yeah.
I would say is my final thoughts on the subject.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts from yourself?
I don't have anything to add.
Maybe you need to start carrying a switchblade around.
Yeah, I just need to get the pepper spray and the switchblade and not scream at people that I have diseases.
That's some real fucking mad bitch energy. What I would have given to have been a fly on the wall for that.
I screamed
you do
that I had AIDS.
Like, that is really crazy, Lucy.
And then he didn't do anything. I was like, really? Nothing? Damn. Okay. Next tactic. That didn't work.
You're fucking mental.
He loved it. He fucking loved it.
Oh, God. I kind of wish you had his number. He sounds interesting.
He was interesting. He had a beautiful French accent. A painter.
I know. I've got so many questions about this mysterious man now.
I know.
All right, babe. Well,
all right.
Glad we could have this chat.
This helpful chat.
Good one. All right. Well, everyone this week, help and be helped. Feels great both ways.
Help and be helped. That's our new t-shirt.